Hi, friends. Welcome back to my little corner of the internet. If you're new here, my name's Nicole, and around here we celebrate cute paper things, cozy moments, intentional planning, and building a life that feels as good as it looks. So, in today's video, we are going to give it a little extra special bonus because we're planning for Juneteenth. And as a native Texan, this holiday has always held a very meaningful and special place in my heart. It was the holiday that me and my dad would really celebrate a lot together. Me, my dad, and my little brother. And my dad has passed on in 2011, so it's just something that I hold near and dear to my heart. So I'm gonna jump in as I start to add these cute day stickers from Cuteness Boutique to my planner. Um, as I decorate this spread using these stickers, I wanted to spend time talking less about productivity and more about community, communication, and remembrance. When people think of Juneteenth, many know it commemorates the day that enslaved people in Texas finally learned that they have been freed. But what always stays with me is that they had actually been legally free long, long, long before they ever received the news. And really thinking about that, it just it's a heavy thought to sit with. That freedom existed on paper, but because communication never reached them, they continued living under conditions that they should have already been released from. That realization is just so powerful to me. It reminds me that information changes lives. Conversations change generations, and silence can delay opportunities, healing, and freedom. As I sit here putting these stickers down and creating something special and beautiful on paper, I can't help but think about all the people who came before us, whose stories were never written down, whose voices weren't amplified, and whose dreams were postponed just simply because they weren't given access to the real truth of everything. And Juneteenth reminds me to honor them by choosing communication, by telling the stories, by choosing to ask questions, even the uncomfortable ones, and by choosing to document our lives. Planning is in itself, it's an act of preservation. And every appointment that I write down, every memory that we journal, every grocery list, gratitude page, photo that we tuck in between our planners is evidence that we were here. I was here, like Beyonce said. Okay. Sometimes I think we underestimate how important our regular, ordinary lives are. Like your future grandchildren might one day treasure the notebook that you almost threw away. I would geek to just see my grandmother as a young girl because I didn't really get to see a lot of pictures of her in that way. So that would just make me so happy to see her in her 30s because I met her very later on in her life. And now my mother's grandmother is no longer here. I mean, my mother's mother, she's no longer here. So I would have loved to see her young and vibrant, walking all around. And I know she was just so beautiful. And our future grandchildren, they're going to cherish all of our little notebooks that we maybe want to throw away soon. And our grandchildren and their children's children, they're going to learn resilience from us. And sometimes, if we're lucky, through our documented pages, they'll be able to see how we kept going, how we were feeling as we kept going, especially if we do choose to document in difficult seasons. Like, think of our planner like becoming history. It sounds crazy, but like, seriously, it could really become history. And that's just something that I think about often. And that's why, I mean, I don't write thinking like my great grandkids are going to read this, but I just write thinking that I want to leave all of the emotions that I feel on the earth, but I don't want to leave them inside of me. So that's just kind of one of the reasons that I write a lot of stuff down. But community also, it plays a huge role in Juneteenth celebrations today and throughout history. Because once people learned that they were free, they gathered. They cooked together, they prayed together, they celebrated together, they built traditions together. Because freedom wasn't meant to be experienced in isolation. And neither is healing, neither is joy or growth. Those are meant to be experienced together as a community. And I think that's one of the reasons why I love this planner community so much, because I can just feel the oneness and that people are okay with saying that they want a buddy. Because I guess I feel like with this Drake no new friends era, a lot of people got used to, doing things in isolation. And I was just raised to always go with my friends to go and do stuff. Or with my family. So I'm used to doing things in communal ways, like in groups and activities. And I understand now that at this age that I'm at, it's not always doable to do things like that. But I love just going to the store with your friends. It's a good time. But on the surface, we're talking about pins and stickers, washi tape and dashboards, even inserts. But underneath all of that, we're really sharing our lives. We're cheering each other on through career changes, celebrating graduations. We're supporting new businesses, encouraging healthier habits, sometimes documenting grief, recording victories. It's like so much more. It's bigger than paper, okay? It's the people. And the community doesn't always have to be so loud. Sometimes the community looks like leaving a kind comment on someone's video. Like, it doesn't mean that you have to go spend $1 zillion just because they opened a shop. You could genuinely say congratulations and maybe share their page or repost one of their items so that someone that it's on your timeline can see it. That is definitely a version of sharing in community. And sometimes it means like sharing resources or having forward thinking, or even forwarding a newsletter. Like, I have a newsletter. If you want to subscribe, go to the description and you'll be able to hit the link and get the information and to go directly to my newsletter. You can forward that to a friend. That would bring me so much joy and give me so much support that something that I wrote today can help someone next week or the week after that or the week after that. I love that. And that's why I write newsletters. So I would love for you to forward it. It would make me sublimely happy. But sometimes it's simply listening. Communication doesn't always mean talking, it can mean making space for someone else's story. And if you're watching this and you're a parent, an auntie, uncle, mentor, a teacher, or someone who has younger people in your life, I really, really encourage you to talk to them about Juneteenth. Not just because it's a holiday on the calendar, but because understanding history helps us appreciate the present. And I really think that children deserve to know the stories that shape the world they inherited, especially if you from Texas, okay? Especially if you from Texas. And honestly, many, many adults are still learning too. I've met a lot of adults in my job space and with different networking groups that I frequent that had just never heard of Juneteenth because they're not from Texas. And it was just so odd to me that they didn't know about it, because to me it's like, what? How do you not, like, how did you miss this parade? How did you miss all these people? Like, how? But it's not something that they celebrate just because they're not from the state of Texas. So just knowing and understanding that how many people's lives were left on hold while other people had maybe started new generations of families and things like that before the Texans knew that they were no longer classified as enslaved people. Just is mind blowing. But I think the holiday encourages us to ask ourselves, like, what message we might still be waiting to receive. Like, is there something that you are waiting on to know or to acknowledge or to accept before you free yourself mentally from it? And I ask myself this, and it feels uncomfortable because it's like, if I know this, then I would just act on it. But what is something that is actually true for me that I'm not accepting, that I'm not ready to say, yes, this is my reality, or just take the reins and make it my reality because I have the autonomy to do so. Like, what am I leaving out on the table? You know what I'm saying? What delayed gratification am I holding myself back from? So that's something that I like to think about at these times. And what opportunities have we ignored because we believe they weren't for us? Or what dreams have we delayed because we convinced ourselves we weren't ready? Sometimes the information we need is simply permission to start, permission to create, permission to rest, permission to become. And if nobody has given you that permission yet, maybe this is your reminder. This planner video is your reminder that you can give it to yourself, because as I continue to fill out this spread and I'm thinking about the people who paved the way for me to be sitting right here making content, owning my own creativity, and sharing my voice online, people who sacrifice so much for my generation so that my generation could have the choices. People who believed in the possibilities they may never personally experience or benefit from. That is legacy. And I think that that legacy is built in tiny moments. It's built one conversation at a time. It's built by consistency, one family dinner, one bedtime, one journal entry, one planner spread, one difficult but necessary conversation, one celebration, one act of kindness. Sometimes we imagine legacy has to be like this huge accomplishment when really it can simply be consistency, showing up, telling the truth, sharing that wisdom, and making room at the table for people who want to sit by you, or making room at your table for things that you have not given yourself permission to receive, that have been waiting on you to accept it. And I also love that Juneteenth celebrations are often filled with music, food, art, and gathering together. I love that. There's just something so beautiful about joy being an act of remembrance, about celebrating while still honoring our history, about creating the beauty while acknowledging the undeniable pain of being left out of the message, being left out of the acknowledgement. But now we can celebrate because, in spite of, we are still here and we are still thriving and growing and making our mark, for our future generations that are coming up after us. So, both things can exist at the same time. And that's what I love about Juneteenth. That's something life has taught me over and over again, is that you can be healing while still remembering. You can be grateful while you still grieving, and you can celebrate progress while continuing to pursue justice. And as planners, lovers, I think that we understand that balance really, really well. We're constantly looking backward to reflect while simultaneously planning ahead. Before I wrap up this spread, I want to encourage us all to check in with our community this week. Someone that you haven't talked to in a long time, invite someone over for coffee, send a thoughtful text, write a handwritten note. Please share a meal with your family, with an extended family member, with someone that you've been meaning to get up with. Just be like, hey, I'm going to cook. Like, what do you want me to cook? And then invite them over. They will be so grateful, so grateful. Ask your grandparents questions. Like, my grandmother recently came in town, and baby, I asked her all the questions. Now I can't, I cannot tell my grandma business, but she gave me the tea. And might I say, I am just so grateful to be her baby. I really, really am. My grandma, you don't know now, grandma. Okay. That's all I'm going to say. But ask them questions, record your family stories, and take photos. Print them out, journal about them, preserve your family's legacy. Because today, you have the opportunity to do that. And you never know, like, who's going to look back on all that you have written down, all that you have cultivated. You never know who is going to be the person to pick up your journal all the years after you. But if you write for the right now, if you write for the person that you're looking to be in your future, when the future finds you, they're going to be astonished. They're going to be astonished at how far ahead you were thinking. They're going to be astonished at how much love that you have for your family. They're going to be astonished at how much good you wanted for the world. And that is going to be able to seep into the next generation. And I think that that's why Juneteenth is so important to me too, because I know that it's about legacy building. Like, because them delaying us freedom was them delaying the fact of us building our own legacy and thinking for ourselves and moving outside of slavery, outside of what someone told us to do versus what we knew and had the autonomy and ideas to do with our own selves, with our own bodies. So I think that now that we have the opportunity to do it, writing it down and letting the next generation know, what plights you felt, like all of the things that's going on in the world now, writing them down so that they can be true from your perspective. Because all these years later, 20, 40, 60 years later, the truth could be being told totally different, but you want your truth to live on, and you want your truth to be delivered to your family in a way that honors you and your thought processes. So if you are a radical, if you are a peacemaker, you want that energy to be translated to your family so that they can hear it from you. And I think that the beauty of writing down our plans and journaling on a daily basis, or taking a quote with us, or having a journaling prompt that we write in our planners with, which is how I generally use my daily pages. I think that it's important to get out of us because it allows you to leave that there and then move forward into future self. And I think that if anyone comes behind you to see what you've written so far, they're going to know exactly how you got to do all of the amazing things in your life that you got to do, because they'll be able to see your perseverance. And if nobody ever looks at your planner, that's great too. I write with the thought process of nobody's going to read this. And when I have these type of thoughts, like around Juneteenth, again, because it just makes me be in a reflective time, because it starts all of the summer months, which was my dad's favorite time of the year. So when this happens, I think for me, it makes me just super reflective. So when I'm thinking about what if somebody else comes back to read my journals, I just feel like they're going to be cracking up, they're going to be laughing, and they're going to be understanding that I never played about my family, and that all of the things that I wanted to do is for the betterment, the expansion of my point of view, of my thought process. And what a blessing to be able to have the autonomy to continuously expand, 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 and not being pigeonholed to one place based on a story that someone else wrote for me. When I have the ability to write my story, and in my planners, I can see my story be written, me follow the path of the story that I wrote, and celebrate my successes and learn from my lessons. And that is all that I can hope. And but what I know is it's doing is expanding my territory, enlarging my territory. So I'm just grateful for the moment to be able to do this, because today's ordinary moments become tomorrow's history. And that's one of the greatest lessons that Juneteenth offers us. Don't wait to communicate what matters. Don't assume how much people know or what they mean to you. Don't assume that your story isn't worth telling, because it absolutely is. Thank you, thank you, thank you for spending this time with me. Thank you for making this little community feel like home. And thank you for allowing conversations like this to exist along stickers, pins, and creativity. If this video encouraged you, I'd love for you to share it with someone who values community, who value storytelling. And I'd love for you to let me know in the comments, like, what conversations are you hoping to preserve for future generations? And what conversations are you wanting to have right now that most people aren't having, but that you want to have with planner people? Because I'm all about the conversations. Like, let's talk. And I like to have real conversations, not just fluff. So happy planning. Happy Juneteenth. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share this video with someone who would appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. I'll see you guys in the next video, and ta-ta for now.